California is a state that has it all, from breathtaking coastal cliffs and golden beaches to iconic cities and hidden gems. This is the ultimate road trip that you've been dreaming of. We've been living in California our whole lives, visited every national park, road tripped up and down the state over a dozen times, and we're going to be showing you California's most epic destinations, from the beaches of Santa Monica to the rugged mountains of Big Sur and the charming vibes of Monterey. This video is your ultimate guide to the Golden State's unforgettable coastline. Whether you're looking for an outdoor adventure, bucket list spots, or hidden gems, we've got you covered. So with that, let's dive into why California should be on your bucket list. Before we dive in, we're Giselle and Steven, also known as the Lover's Passport, and we're going to be taking you on a new bucket list road trip and experience all around the world every week of this year. If you're new here and you love travel, don't forget to give us a like and subscribe. And with that, let's go ahead and jump into the video. So for this road trip, you're going to fly into LA and start in Santa Monica. Santa Monica has mountains, it has the ocean, it has tons of culture. There's so much to do here. If there's one thing you have to do, you have to go and check out the Santa Monica Pier. There's a full amusement park on it. There's amazing food inside of the Santa Monica city proper. If you're up for a hike, definitely head over to the Santa Monica Mountains. There is a huge section to go hiking through with Sandstone Peak, another area outside of Agora, which is a little bit further in, is Ladyface Peak, and there's so many stunning spots depending on how much you like hiking. But make your first spot on this road trip Santa Monica. After Santa Monica, you're gonna drive about an hour to an hour and a half depending on traffic up to Ventura. Ventura is a sleepy beach town. It has amazing surf. It has really a home style feel and a great downtown shopping area. If there's one thing to do, I want to make sure that you go to the beach and hang out by the pier. Make sure to stop by Made West or Topa Topa and grab a beer, and it's a great spot to go downtown and do some thrift shopping. If you're up for a little bit of adventure, the best thing to do outside of the downtown area is heading out and doing a day trip to Channel Islands National Park.
Now, Channel Islands National Park is actually the closest national park to us, and it's one that we've grown up going to pretty frequently. When you're visiting, you're either going to be going out via the Oxnard Harbor or the Ventura Harbor, and you're going to want to book your boat in advance because they're not always available if you're trying to do it the same day. We typically go out through Island Packers. I'll put their info in the description box below, but you'll want to book out at least a week in advance, preferably a month out in advance if you know you're going to be doing this road trip, just to make sure that you have your prime ferry times over to the Channel Islands. You're also going to have the option to choose from a ton of different islands. Typically, most people will go to Santa Cruz for a day trip, or if you're camping overnight, we definitely recommend Santa Cruz. We've also camped on Anacapa, which is another great day trip. I would actually recommend camping on Santa Cruz over Anacapa, especially if you are going during like April and May time when it's seagull season. If you guys want more info on that, I'll link our Anacapa video up here for you. But let's just say Steve and I spent 2 nights with 40,000 seagulls, or what seemed to be that many seagulls. When you're visiting Anacapa, you have to go and check out Inspiration Point for sunset if you are staying on the island that late. If not, it's just a really pretty hike. It's a pretty small island, so everything around there only takes about an hour or 2 to do, so you don't need a ton of time if you're not staying overnight. We'd also recommend bringing your own snorkeling supplies or your own paddleboard. We had an inflatable paddleboard that you can bring out, and we pumped it up and went snorkeling around the island. Super fun, and lots of really good underwater life out there because of the kelp forests. If you're doing Santa Cruz, we would recommend definitely getting your hiking shoes on. And on Santa Cruz, if there's one thing you do, I'd recommend hiking out to Scorpion Cove. It's a really beautiful hike, and especially when you get there in the midday, you can see how blue the water is down below. Once you spent your time in Ventura and Oxnard, it's time to head up the coast to Santa Barbara. Santa Barbara is actually where Steven and I met. It's where I went to college, and it's where we got married. So it's a very special place for us, and you cannot go on a California road trip without visiting Santa Barbara. It is a coastal gem, also known as the American Riviera, and you can easily see why. It's got beautiful mountain backdrops. You got stunning miles of coastline and beach. You have wine tasting. You have lots of shopping downtown. Beautiful sunny and 75-degree weather year round. I could go on and on about it, but you will love your time visiting Santa Barbara. If you're more of a city person, we definitely recommend walking around downtown State Street and getting a feel for all of the shops and dining and the unique Spanish architecture, as well as heading down to East Beach. It's one of our favorite beaches to just go and hang out at, maybe set up a slackline or a hammock and enjoy. If you're more into mountains and you're visiting Santa Barbara, make sure to check out Lizard's Mouth or La Cumbre Peak, and we'll link our video explaining all of our favorite hikes in Santa Barbara up here for you as well.
Now, before we dive into the central coast of California and continue our road trip, I want to tell you a little bit about our bi-weekly newsletter called Passport Pals. If you love to travel, if you want more road trip hacks, more points and miles tips for when you're going on trips, we have a bi-weekly newsletter where we send you out all of the best upcoming deals and pieces revolving travel. All you have to do is scan the QR code right over here to join our bi-weekly newsletter. Next up is Pismo Beach. This is a fantastic spot. It's a really nice, relaxing seaside town. Our personal favorite spot are the Oceana sand dunes. You can actually camp on the beach in this city, but we prefer to go and instead go hike through the dunes during sunrise or sunset. It turns all of the dunes this beautiful golden color, and it's just absolutely stunning to do. So if you have a morning, we would definitely recommend stopping here, watching the sunrise, grabbing a bite to eat, and then continuing up the coast. Next up the coast is Avila Beach. This is definitely one of the best hidden gems on the entire California coast. It has this interesting microclimate that makes it extremely warm here compared to a lot of the other places that you're going to find on the central coast. There's actually some really nice hiking as well that gets you up above these beautiful sea caves, and there's even some hot springs here if you want to check those out.
Next up, we have San Luis Obispo, otherwise known as SLO. This is a super hip and happening college town. It gives me very similar vibes to Santa Barbara, but it definitely has its own distinct personality. It's a little more hipster, if you will. Definitely recommend walking around downtown. We always love going and stopping at Luna Red, which is one of our favorite paella and like Spanish restaurants there. And there's some really great hikes nearby. If you only have time for one, if you're stopping on your road trip for only a day or two, we'd recommend doing the Bishop Peak Trail. And there's a few different ways to do it, so make sure to check your all trails and download whichever one you would like to do in advance. There's just some slight different variations on where you would park, the mileage, and the elevation gain. But it's definitely one of the best views in all of San Luis Obispo. And if you're doing this road trip in spring, you'll also get super lucky visiting San Luis Obispo because there's a ton of wildflowers. So if I were doing this road trip, I would try and time that up so you can see the hills just covered in greenery and flowers.
The next stop is going to be Morro Bay. This is a absolutely beautiful beach town. It is known for having this massive rock called Morro Rock in the middle that's home to hundreds, if not thousands, of different seabirds. It's a really nice spot to go and relax, take in the sunset. It gives this beautiful golden glow as the sun goes down over the big rock, and there's tons of great spots to eat, lots of little spots to shop as well. If you're cruising your way up to Big Sur, after grabbing a sandwich in San Luis Obispo, this is a great little spot to have a picnic and relax.
Next, we have Cayucos, which my favorite part of stopping in Cayucos is for one thing and one thing only, and that's the Brown Butter Sugar Company's cookies. We always stop here so we can always load up. We're all about stopping and grabbing all the sweet treats along the way for your road trip. So that's my personal favorite thing to do. It's also a really cute, quaint, charming little beach town that you can stop at. You don't need too much time here. I'd maybe spend about an hour walking around, but it's a great little stop to get out of the car and move your legs a little bit. We'd recommend stopping at the Cayucos Pier. And then if you have extra time, exploring the Estero Bluff State Park.
Now, before we dive into the Big Sur area, we want to remind you about our travel photography ebook. If you guys are looking to take better self-portraits, or even if you're a couple looking to take better adventurous photos, we have an ebook that goes over all of our best photography tips to help you go from shooting in automatic to shooting on manual like a pro. Check out some of these pictures that we've got from the California coast before on our past road trips. All you have to do is scan the QR code right here and we'll send it over to you. So Ragged Point is up next. That is basically the gateway to Big Sur. It's where we typically stop on the drive up to grab a quick cup of coffee, to take in the stunning view as you start to see the rugged California coastline peek out, because up until this point, it's basically just beaches and nice and flat. Ragged Point is the entryway to where you start to see the really picturesque rugged coastline of Big Sur that leads you up to San Francisco.
Now, after you get to Ragged Point, we have Big Sur. Big Sur is a bucket list destination known for its dramatic cliffs, winding coastal roads, and awe-inspiring landscapes. Now, depending on when you are watching this video, Highway 1 may or may not be open. And so sometimes they fix Highway 1 and you're all good to go directly from Ragged Point up to Big Sur. Sometimes it falls into the ocean, which happens pretty frequently. So if you are doing this road trip at a time where there are road closures, one, make sure to check in advance on the Caltrans website if there are still road closures. Two, you're gonna have to go a little bit out of the way. So you're gonna have to drive up to Ragged Point and then you're gonna have to backtrack and kind of turn back towards the coast when you drive through Monterey and then back down to Big Sur. So we've had to do that in the last year when we've done this road trip a couple times, which is a little inconvenient, but it's still equally as beautiful. And I still think it's worth it to route around and head down to Big Sur because the coastline is something else. We'd recommend starting your exploration of the area over at the famous Bixby Bridge. Now, keep in mind, this area is going to get really congested with traffic. There is parking, but if you're being an a-hole, there are lots of cops here giving out tickets. So you'll want to make sure that you're following directions, you're not blocking traffic, and you're being a respectful visitor when you get to take in the iconic viewpoint of the Bixby Bridge. Next, hike through Julia Pfeiffer Burns State Park. This is where you're going to see the iconic McWay Falls. Hopefully, this area does get clouded out pretty often. Steve and I have had our fair share of getting to the view there and not being able to see anything. So take your expectations. But if you are lucky enough to see McWay Falls, it's a really beautiful waterfall that flows directly into the ocean. And finally, we'd recommend checking out Pfeiffer Beach. This is one of the famous photographed areas in all of Big Sur because of the famous keyhole arch. If you're timing it right, I believe it's around December when you can get a perfect sun going in between this massive sea cave on the beach. It's also a dog-friendly beach, which we really appreciated. We've been able to bring Karen there before. The rest of Big Sur is not very dog-friendly, so just make sure to keep that in mind if you're bringing your dog along for this road trip. It is one of the most insane parts of California, I think, if not one of the top 5 most beautiful drives. So I think it's highly, highly worth it to make the trek up to Big Sur. Now, I foreshadowed a little bit here when I talked about going around to Big Sur through Monterey, but your next stop will be Monterey. Monterey is a coastal treasure town known for its rich history, marine life, and breathtaking scenery. If you are just stopping here for one day, we'd recommend going over and checking out the Monterey Bay Aquarium. It truly is one of the best aquariums I think we've ever seen, and it's really worth it, not just for the kids and families to go. We always enjoy taking a stop here and seeing what they are up to and what they're researching. One of our other favorite things to do in this area is visiting Point Lobos State Park. Beautiful hiking trails along the way there. And we actually have a whole video diving into what you can do in Monterey, really in depth. So I'll link that up here for you guys if you want to check that out. But Point Lobos is definitely worth a stop. Finally, take a scenic drive along the famous 17-mile drive in this region. You'll find iconic landmarks like the famous lone cypress tree. You'll actually see it's like held up by ropes now. That's how famous it is. They don't want erosion to make it go away. So it's held up by strings, but it's definitely worth it. It's a really beautiful drive at golden hour if you're timing it right around sunset. And then once you're done checking out the 17-mile drive, you can head over to Pebble Beach and explore that as well.
Before we dive into San Francisco, we have gotten so many questions from you about how we're able to travel so much and how we became content creators. So if you guys are interested in becoming a content creator, learning how to get paid to travel, we have a completely free creator newsletter where we give you tips on how to grow, how to take better photos, how to monetize your online content creator business. All you have to do is scan the QR code right here and we'll send you a link to join our free newsletter. San Francisco is up next, and it is one of the most picturesque cities because of the Golden Gate Bridge. It also has tons of iconic landmarks around the entire area. If you were to spend one day here, you have to go to the Aristoco Bakery. They have the best croissants in the entire area. Make sure you get the almond croissant, and then also take in either a sunrise or a sunset from San Francisco. There's so many different beautiful places to take in the sunrise or sunset. So go ahead, check out on Instagram. We'll put our favorite ones down below. It really depends what type of view you're looking for. One thing I will say about San Francisco though is there is a lot of crime. So if you guys are planning on visiting, just make sure that you take all of your valuables with you. Do not leave anything in your car. People break into cars all the time there. Giselle herself actually had someone break into their car and steal a ton of stuff. So make sure you guys stay safe when you guys are making your way through San Francisco.
While you're exploring more in Northern California, you definitely need to check out Point Reyes too. I would say this is one of the more underrated hidden gems of this region, and it's very easy to see why when you get there. It's got dramatic coastal cliffs. It's got this insane famous tree tunnel of cypress trees, which is stunning at sunrise. And also, if you visit at sunrise, you will likely have it more to yourselves than the rest of the day. There's some really great coastal hiking here too. We did the Tamalpais Point trail when we were there, and it was really beautiful. Great midday hiking. And while you're exploring, make sure to check out Drake's Beach as well.
And the last spot for this road trip is going to be Mount Tamalpais, also known as Mount Tam. This is probably our favorite sunset spot in all of California. It is known for giving you these dreamy sunsets over the clouds where you can drive up, park your car, relax, and you get to see the Bay Area fog roll in. So you can see the skyscrapers of San Francisco peek out, as well as you see the sea of clouds over the ocean. Because the ocean is so much colder and it gets so hot, it creates this really interesting environment and creates these stunning sunsets. We took one of our favorite photos of all time up here. It looks just like this. Make sure you spend at least one evening up here for sunset. I wouldn't recommend going for sunrise because the park does close at sunset and the gates do not open until after sunrise has already happened. If you watch this video, it probably means you're looking to start road tripping more in the USA. So we linked our USA road trip list right up here with all of our other itineraries. And next week, we're bringing you on one of our favorite Q Suite experiences ever. So make sure to hit that like and subscribe, and we'll see you next week with another adventure.